How's my posture?
Well, hi, I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds, and I want to tell you what a privilege it is to be in conversation with folks in and around the Keyin College ecosystem. We're really talking about software development right now, and I'm so privileged to have Dean on the conversation with me. Dean, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure, thanks, Alan. My name is Dean McIsaac. I work with the Genesis Center, which is Newfoundland and Labrador's technology incubator. So we're part of Memorial University, we're a non-for-profit, and we help entrepreneurs create startups that hopefully will scale globally.
Dean, does everybody have to come through MUN to go into the Genesis Center? How do the startups, how are they brought into the ecosystem?
That's actually a really great question. So we are part of MUN, we're a globally recognized incubator from a university perspective. But you don't have to be a student. We have about 40% of our founders come from international locations. About 30% of our founders are students. So you don't have to be a student. We are a pathway for students to create entrepreneurial journeys and become startups and tech founders. But really, we honestly welcome people from literally all over the world.
And Genesis had some good success. There's some names along the list there that have done quite well for themselves along Genesis.
Absolutely. So the largest acquisition of a private firm in Canadian history was a company that started with Genesis. It's called Verafin, and they started making robots for mining, learned a lot of lessons along the way, and pivoted to financial crime fighting. And that's a really big story in the Canadian history of startups, and it started with Genesis many years ago.
I love when you see something like a Genesis Center, which really is a nice collaboration of sort of government, industry, academia, all working together, right, for the benefit of the entire, well, in this case, the province, but I would argue, in the case of Verafin, the globe, right?
Truly. What's great about the incubation space and about the startup space is that the rising tide floats all boats is a very apt descriptor. I had a conversation yesterday with one of the people in the same position as me at a place called Volta out of Halifax. They're an incubator based in Nova Scotia, funded by the Nova Scotia government, but we collaborate. A lot of our founders are actually founders with Volta as well. And not only in the region, but our founders go to incubators in the Silicon Valley. They go to incubators across the sea. They go to incubators in Toronto. So the rising tide floats all boats is really true.
And the collaboration is so very important. You know, it wasn't so long ago that Jerry and I were talking to folks about finding your future in tech. A great program that came out with the Newfoundland government and, a bunch of industry and academic partners, everybody leaning into this to upskill that workforce. It was a beautiful thing to see it all play out, and so many students benefit from it. One of those, of course, was that software development program. I'd like you to talk to me a little bit about the importance of software development right now in Newfoundland. Like, what does the future look like for that?
Well, I mean it's a big topic, and I think it's an important one. I have this perception that Newfoundland is moving from that resource-based economy to more of a knowledge-based economy, which is not to take away from our resources. I'm from Labrador City, a mining town. That's going to be there for a long time, mining. Fisheries is going to be a thing for a long time. Energy is going to be a thing for a long time. However, the scalability of the knowledge economy is really unique, because my friend sitting in Port aux Basques in his basement who knows how to code can start a tech company that can go global. And that's a really cool thing. And I think that, coding, obviously for me, being in the tech industry, supporting tech founders, it's a skill that it's becoming easier to learn. There are more supports in places to help people learn it. And the advent of AI is a whole nother facet that's going to actually just keep accelerating and expanding the scope and the horizon of what can be achieved by so many people at so many different places in their lives. Anyone from my dad to my son can learn to be a coder today, and that's pretty cool. And Dean, where you find yourself sort of in the embryonic stages of the conversation with startups and things like that you're incubating through,
You're right at the pointy end of this thing. You must see a tremendous opportunity for these students that are coming out of great programs like Keyin's.
Oh, absolutely. So what's great about the collaboration that, the government of Newfoundland, Keyin, Genesis, Memorial University, Tech and L, all these places are doing is they're allowing for people to become educated in a unique way, in a way that's affordable, which is very important, and to identify opportunities that weren't really present, I would say even 5 years ago or maybe even 2 years ago. So the accelerated pace of adoption and the accelerated pace of availability, it's astounding.
And of course, what I also like about what I'm seeing right now in the moment is that the employers are engaged in the learning model. Not only are they identifying to academia the things that matter to us, the courses that you need to be teaching, the skills that we need, but they're taking it one step further. And when students are in the programs, they're mentoring them along the way, they're injecting projects, they're there for them when they come out. Tell me about that collaboration connection, how important that is.
I mean, I care about our founders at Genesis. That is what we're here for. We're here to help people who come into the program and say, I have an idea, I'm going to create a business. That business is going to help people and it's going to scale and make a big difference in the world. The availability of students and the input of new talent into these early stage companies, the importance of that can't be overstated. Early stage companies are inherently broke, for lack of better terminology, right? It's the normal state. So getting access to resources through engagements like the one with Keyin students, where they can come, they can do a work term, that work term will benefit the company and benefit the learning of the student. It's really special and it's providing a lot of value. We have 30% of our companies right now taking advantage of that relationship.
Wow.
And those 30% are doing better because of that relationship.
Dean, the other thing that I'm finding really refreshing is that the whole conversation around acceptance and everybody belonging here, it's a big tent, it's at all levels. Everywhere I look in this ecosystem, it starts early and it's penetrating all the way through. Give me your thoughts on that.
So everybody belonging in what context?
Well, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Oh, wow. Well, something we are very proud of at Genesis is we have a very strong, and we've been recognized for our strong DEI tenets. So we have, I think I said earlier, it's 30 to 40% newcomer founders. So people new to Canada, new to the culture, not only participating, but adding value in unique and different ways. And we actually talk to our founders about the importance of the diversity lens, because if you have 2 to 3 founders who are all of a particular, culture or heritage or background or even skill set, they're lacking unique views, lacking unique skill sets, lacking different ways of looking at problems. And I've done a lot of problem solving training and coaching and facilitating in my life. And those unique lenses add value in ways that it's hard to measure and hard to really describe. But it's scientifically proven and empirically proven that founding teams and companies with a more diverse range of employees and founders do better. Like, it's actually a statistic that I don't know where I read it, but I read it in multiple places. You do better when you have a diverse skill set and a diverse team. So, that also counts. Say you're newcomers and you're both coming from the same place. It goes both ways. You also need to bring in people who are different in terms of the things you're bringing to the table. So it's not just about inclusion for inclusion's sake. It's about inclusion because it will benefit you and make you stronger and help you and get you down the line. Does that make sense?
Perfectly articulated. I mean, you're so right. Everybody's lens will just make the solution so much better. There's no doubt about it. It sounds to me like you find yourself in a wonderful place at Genesis. You're interacting with, wonderful companies that are going to go on and do great things. It must be amazing to be in this ecosystem right now in this moment.
Well, I mean, our line is that at Genesis, we help build amazing companies. So you said it, it's amazing. And I am privileged to be part of that conversation at all. I get to work with these inspiring people from all walks of life, all ages, all kinds of backgrounds, and they come up with these ideas or these notions about how they can make the world a better place. And I just get to kind of help ask questions. The role of the advisor or the coach or the support person is just to really pique their interest in different ways of looking at things. So it's not about, you don't come to a place like an incubator to be told what to do, or you shouldn't anyway. You should come there in the spirit of collaboration, which really is, what do you think of this? How did you look at that? Why are you doing it that way? Have you thought of this? Have you talked to the other founders? That's one of my favorite questions. A lot of times a founder will come to me and say, do you have a resource for this, or do you know someone who can do this for me, or X, Y, Z? And my favorite answer is, have you asked the other founders? Because our team, which is amazing, there are 14 of us, and we're tight and we're a family, but we don't have as much information as the 50 founders that we support. There's the number of people, you want to rely on your community. So you don't just come and ask the one person, you refer to all the people you work with. And it always yields a better result.
Dean, it must be amazing to be, like, it sounds to me, the images that come to my mind when you describe it, it's almost like the coxswain in the back of the boat at the regatta, and everybody is pulling together. Everybody in this ecosystem, whether it's your academic partners, your industry partners, those that are well established and those that are starting up, and governments and communities circling around behind and leaning into all of this. It's an amazing place.
That's a great analogy. I was actually a coxswain in the Labrador City Regatta, and I rowed and I raced in the regatta. Won it one year, I have to say that. But I love that analogy because I do feel that it is very similar to the boat race, where you have to have everyone pulling in unison, everyone pulling together. The teams that pull together win. It's not about the strongest. It's not about the ones with the most skill. It's the one that works together best. And that's why that rowing analogy works so well for a lot of different things. I feel like here in Newfoundland, all the players, all the people in the boat are aligning and learning to pull together. As an example, we had a meeting a few weeks ago where we had healthcare and mining come together and have a conference around technology. And like the weirdest thing, because you wouldn't think energy. Healthcare and energy. You wouldn't think that there's a mashup there that makes sense. But we had our tech companies there, and there were a lot of things where, hey, we're doing this in the energy sector. Healthcare would raise their hand and say, hey, I think that makes sense for us too. Can we talk about that? And it's this really interesting thing where bringing these diverse people, these diverse groups together, and these diverse teams and these different industries together to talk about technology and get them all pulling in the same direction, it's yielding economies of scale that, I see us positioning ourselves to be the next Silicon Valley, and I say that because people resonate with what that means. But Toronto says, they're the epicenter of tech in Canada. I know Nova Scotia is doing amazing things. I know BC is doing amazing things. But I really think that we are a contender. If there was a crown, we'd be a contender for the crown, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Healthcare and mining could go together. I think it was Jeff Sterling used to use gold for his arthritis, so I think there was some sort of connection there as well. But anyway, sorry, we went off on a bit of a tangent there. I want to draw it back to software development here, and we'll end the conversation around this. You're on the outside of Keyin College looking in. You have a first glimpse at the students that are coming out of Keyin College. How do you feel that they're preparing their students for the workforce?
Well, they had to be doing something well, because the companies I work with who use the students are doing better than they would have been doing without the students. And that is demonstrated because I have very frequent meetings with all the founders, and the ones who have students are doing things in ways they haven't done them before, getting wins they haven't had before, and I really have to attribute that to the successes they're getting from having the Keyin students on their teams. And in part, obviously, the founders are doing great things too. I can't deny that.
You know, I guess as a final point, and I'll leave you with the last word here, is what would you tell people about Genesis? What should people know about the Genesis Center? Because a lot of people will watch this, and then the Genesis Center, they will have heard sort of that name in the background. They would have known. So, what would your final pitch be about the Genesis Center?
Wow, that's a tall order now. I'm put on the spot here.
It's an elevator pitch.
So
But we're not going to the CN Tower. We're just going to the top of Bowerings here.
the reality is that the Genesis Center, you know, I say it's Newfoundland and Labrador's tech accelerator, tech incubator. But really, it's if you have an idea about creating a tech business, you need to come and talk to the people at Genesis. That is the pitch. Because we support founders from the early ideation stage right up to making millions and millions of dollars in annual recurring revenue. We have programs in place and people in place to support them. And more importantly, I think we are where the community exists for people who want to create tech businesses. So if you want to be part of a community and create something really cool, you come to Genesis. That's my pitch.
An absolute pleasure to be in conversation with you once again.
Thank you, Alan. This has been great.
Jerry, that last little bit, if